really is little coincidence. And that's how savvy Donald Trump is. He really is when it comes to his brand, when it comes to wanting to have his message louder than the other one. So I wouldn't put this past that. Again, I wasn't in the room, but when we look at the history of how he's acted with cutting off presidential, or protective details overall, they always seem to be related to somebody he doesn't like or that has spoke out against, and that could be the situation right now.
Let's start off with this, though, this hour. The US President Donald Trump has revoked Secret Service protection for the former Vice President and 2024 Democratic rival Kamala Harris. A senior advisor to Ms. Harris, Kirsten Allen, confirmed the decision. She said the Vice President is grateful to the United States Secret Service for their professionalism, dedication, and unwavering commitment to safety. Typically, vice presidents receive a 6-month security detail from the Secret Service after they leave office, although it had been extended to 18 months for Ms. Harris. That was by the former president, Mr. Biden. Former US presidents receive Secret Service protection for life. Well, let's talk to Laura Schwartz, former advisor to President Clinton. Laura, I like you so much. I upgraded you.
Henry, thanks for the promotion.
Oh, no, of course. Well, whenever you're
great.
On. Okay.
Where's my Secret Service detail?
Oh, well, it's me. I'm your Secret Service detail.
I'll take it, Henry.
Okay. So, first of all, what do you make of this move? It's perfectly lawful, isn't it? But the reasons given for it.
It's perfectly lawful, Henry, but it's just really unreasonable. As you mentioned, the president and spouses get the Secret Service for life. The VP gets it for 6 months. And now, for example, when Vice President Gore lost to Bush back in the early 2000s, well, he said, I don't need it anymore. I don't feel it's necessary. The Secret Service said he didn't have a threat level. And so he disbanded with his Secret Service pretty soon after. But Vice President Harris, the first Black woman to hold that position, who had unparalleled death threats during the campaign, following which Joe Biden signed the separate executive memorandum to the Department of Homeland Security, where the Secret Service falls under, and said, even though, yes, the vice president gets 6 months, with this directive, I will continue it for 1 year further. So to about July 21st, 2026. And that came and went, the 6 months. And all of a sudden today, this announcement drops from the White House. And it is the president's prerogative. But, you even just look back at what Trump has been afforded. After Trump left the White House begrudgingly back in 2020.
Yeah.
2021. He signed a directive for his own self that his 4 adult children would be provided Secret Service for 6 months. Now, adult children don't usually have it. The child of a president until they're 16 will have it, but the adult children, it's not usual at all. But he put that directive down. The Secret Service covered all 4 adult children for 6 months. There's been in-depth, look into the amount it cost. I think nearly $1.7 million. And Joe Biden comes into the presidency. He doesn't change that. He allows it. Yeah. And then Joe Biden's coming out of the presidency. He, too, said because of the threats against Hunter Biden, his son, who was in, a lot of trouble in and out, let's face that, and Ashley, they were to get Secret Service for 6 months. Trump came in January, and by the second week of March, pulled their security details.
Right.
So, this is a history. This is how the vengeance works.
Indeed. I mean, I'm just looking at Trump's revocation of the security detail of other prominent individuals. Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Who he disagreed with.
Exactly.
And he spoke out against him.
That's right. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and then of John Bolton, whose house got raided the other day, the former National Security Advisor. But when a president decides to do this, whether it's capriciously or not, won't there be people who have assessed the threat level against those individuals and who, if they think it is still present, could say to him, Mr. President, this would be a bad move?
Mm-hmm. There absolutely could have been that conversation. We don't know how many two-way conversations have been had over this. It's definitely apparent that Donald Trump had a conversation to say he wants this to end. Whether she doesn't deserve it or what have you, who knows? His own realization or reckoning for it. But there really is, it's not just the physical security, Henry, that disappears because, of course, she's got physical Secret Service agents 24/7. Protecting her, and if she's at her home in Los Angeles, they're there, wherever she may be. But it also, what they do alongside of that is they continually assess the threat. And that's both in consortium with the FBI and the Department of National Intelligence. It's with local law enforcement, state law enforcement. So that also goes away. So even though you can say, oh, she can afford private security, she's going on a book tour coming up for her new book. She can just do it privately. They don't have access to that threat assessment. And many great private security firms, Henry, they've got former Secret Service agents, and they are top notch. But they don't have access to that intelligence.
How much of this do you think is to do with this book tour and the fact that she's going to be firing missiles at the White House? She's going to be she's going to be really open, and he's not going to like what she says on this tour.
Henry, I think you make a good point. There really is little coincidence and that's how savvy Donald Trump is. He really is when it comes to his brand, when it comes to wanting to have his message louder than the other one. So I wouldn't put this past that. Again, I wasn't in the room, but when we look at the history of how he's acted with cutting off presidential, or protective details overall, they always seem to be related to somebody he doesn't like or that has spoke out against, and that could be the situation right now. But it definitely, and it goes into effect September 1st.
Right.
A couple days away.
It's 2 days away. I mean, my
so
God.
it's
Giving
not
it plenty
as
of time to get ready.
The Secret Service turned over to another. Now, I will say this. Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California. And again, her primary residence is in the state of California in the city of Los Angeles. And the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, are speaking as to what kind of state patrol security that they could offer, what kind of, local police structure they could offer, based on the threat assessments they have access to. But again, that's never going to be the same as inside the United States Secret Service, the top of the game.
Yeah. And Laura, pulling back a little, Kamala Harris did on the campaign trail warn the American people what Trump might do if he got back into the White House. Much of what she suggested has been fulfilled and then some by what the president has done. Are people saying we got this wrong, we should have listened to her, or are they still saying, well, no, she wasn't the right candidate for the Democrats at that time?
Well, it's a really good point that you're bringing up. I was having a conversation with some friends a few weeks ago, and they said, you know what she should just do on this book tour? She can just sit down, simply say, I told you so.
And that's it.
and start signing books.
Yeah.
No, I think, seriously, Henry, there is that strong mega base of Donald Trump, that even though they voted for him, they are still very much in support of him. And he's been telling them, listen, it's going to take some time. You're going to probably hurt before you feel better when it comes to the economy or other things. And then his other message is, the economy's great. You're doing fine. You'll be fine. And they do buy into that. Now, when you look at some of the independents that just weren't thrilled with how Biden got out of the campaign, weren't really thrilled with Harris. We're not thrilled, when Harris spoke early on in her campaign as to the fact that, when it comes to rising prices and a living wage, not just a working wage, and giving your children health care and education, et cetera, she was doing really well. When she just pivoted to democracy, she started to slip in the polls. Yeah. So the message didn't really work then, but I think a lot of people are seeing now that the prices in the grocery store, when it comes to ground beef, when it comes to produce, when it comes to eggs, that hasn't gone down. It's just gone up. And in those cases, when it hits a person's pocketbook, that's when they see it. Now, they may not go back and be like, boy, was I wrong, but they might be just, you know what? I think we can do better. And he wasn't the answer, and they'll start looking for another one.
Indeed, indeed. And could that be Newsom, Gavin Newsom, or could it be the former?
He'd like it to be.
He would like it to be. He's got the hair. He's got the Matthew McConaughey type looks.
Right.
Or Pete Buttigieg, who gives amazing interviews, but would the American people be inclined to vote for a married gay father, even if he is a veteran and a former transportation secretary?
Yeah, and when you hear him out there, and what's neat about Pete right now is that he's doing very right wing, way to the other side politically, podcasts and talk shows. I mean, it's a good time for Democrats that want to try and test their message, and just also, the manner of which they speak with a lot of different organizations and groups. It's a good time because right now Donald Trump's approval rating is the lowest that he's been at, and so this is the time for Democrats that want to float an opportunity to get out there. But, Pete Buttigieg, you listen to an interview of his, honestly, Democrat or Republican, independent or indifferent, he says why he's saying what he's saying in a way that effectively communicates his message. Yeah. But I agree with you. I don't know if the sexuality would get away with that. We did have our first Black female vice president. We did see, results after the election that some people were not ready to vote for a Black female president.
And in 2016, they weren't prepared to vote for a white female president either.
Right.
So there we go. Wow, Laura, I've enjoyed picking your brain. It's been excellent. And I'm volunteering to be your detail again.
I can't wait till we go on the road.
All right.
Thank you, Henry.
Laura, fantastic. Laura Schwartz, former advisor to President Clinton. Alan says this, Henry, U.S. Secret Service is so on top of their game that they allowed 2 attempts on Trump's life. I think Harris is safer with the L.A. Sheriff's Department. Alan, you might be right.